Hello and welcome to the Marvels of Water. Welcome back. Today we're going to jump right in with our first hydrotherapy remedy. It is the hot foot bath. Dr. Agatha Thrash of Uchee Pines Institute once said that if she had only one hydrotherapy remedy, she would want it to be the hot foot bath. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So when we're talking about the hot foot bath, it is a local bath treatment to cover the feet and the ankles. And when I do this treatment, I usually don't worry about, or remedy, I like to call them, worry about an exact temperature, but you can think about somewhere between 100 and 115 degrees Fahrenheit, or if you are into Celsius, you see the degrees there on the screen. So now, for the hot foot bath, we're going to need a few pieces of equipment. So we're going to look at just some of the things that we'll be using for that. And these are things that you should have in your home. If you don't, a couple of things you can pick up and very inexpensive. That's one of the beauties of hydrotherapy is it's very inexpensive so that you can do it right in your own home. So a few of the things we need, well, we could use a floor mat. A floor mat would be good. Don't have a floor mat, I'm just simply using a towel here, and I'm going to have a chair because we're going to have a person to sit in the chair. And next we actually need a basin for the feet. You can get this at one of your local stores. This is actually a dish pan. You put dishes in, but it comes in very handy for hot foot baths. All right. Also, we're going to have a pitcher that we're going to be using to pour water. We have another basin. We're going to put some ice cold water into this. We'll get to that more in a moment. We're also going to need a towel. We need a washcloth. We are going to have a blanket. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drape the blanket over this chair. And it's very simple. Hydrotherapy is simple and effective, but it does take practice, and we want to become skillful at it. So I'm going to just drape this over this chair like so, and as we drape it, we want to have it long ways this way. All right, so next we're going to follow up with the sheet the same way. And we're going to cover our person in this. And then I'm going to go into a little more detail with you. So, all right, very good. So if you have old sheets, old blankets that you were thinking about getting rid of, don't do that. Save them because you can use them for your hydrotherapy remedies. All right, so we're all set up here. Now, a couple other things we want to go over before we proceed. Here, these are some of the indications for a hot foot bath. In other words, these are some of the reasons why you would want to use a hot foot bath. Now, this is a short list. As you become more skilled at this, you will certainly come to understand, you will certainly come to see that there are more indications, more uses that you could use a hot foot bath for. And we can see these right here. If someone's having colds, flus, coughs, you could do a hot foot bath. Or to relieve congestion of the head, someone's having a headache, chest congestion, or pelvic congestion. Many times you might find a young lady or having some pelvic congestion. This would be a good remedy. Or if someone's having a nosebleed, also to relieve pelvic cramps, pain. Also, you could use a hot foot bath to warm up the body in preparation for another remedy. Now, precautions, or as we like to call them, contraindications. If someone has diabetes where their lower extremities have lost sensation, a hot foot bath may not be the best remedy for them because you see their feet, their lower extremities have lost the sensation, and we would not want to cause any harm. You may be adding hot water and actually doing harm, burning the individual. So you know someone who has diabetes and they've lost sensation in their feet, in their limbs, then I would recommend that you would hold off from administering a hot foot bath to those individuals. And we want to be very cautious, and we want to make sure that we do no harm. All right, so now that we can demonstrate and continue further so that you can get more of an idea how we're going to do the hot foot bath, I'm going to call my friend Joel over. He's going to help me with this. Joel, thank you. Say hi to everyone. Now, let's say that Joel is suffering from a bad flu or cold. He's stuffy, he's not feeling good, so we want to administer a hot foot bath on him so that he will feel better. All right, so I'm going to ask Joel to sit here in the chair, and we're going to administer a hot foot bath on him now. So we're not actually having real hot water in here right now, but this is where you use your imagination. So imagine that we have the hot water in here, and I usually like to start, like I said, we don't have to measure with a thermometer. If you want to, you can. You can start somewhere about 102 degrees. That's usually good for most people, but what I normally do is I will usually test in the beginning. I will usually test with my elbow, not with my hand. See, because your hands can take water a lot hotter than your feet. Your feet are more sensitive. So I will usually test with my elbow. If you don't have a thermometer, like I say, you don't necessarily need one, but I will test with my elbow. So, okay, that feels pretty good. And of course, if we were really doing this, Joel would not have his socks on, but it would be barefoot. So we have water in here. Joel has his feet in here. And how does the water feel?
Feels very warm.
Feels very warm. But is it bearable?
Yes.
Very good, very good. All right. So now it would also be good to have a hand towel around the neck. All right. And when I wrap this around, I try not to make sure that the sheet and the blanket do actually not get in the water. You can try your best. Sometimes it happens, but we want to try to keep it as dry as possible. And then we're going to wrap the blanket around. All right. You lift your neck up for me. There we go. Uh-oh. And all right, so we have him in the water. We have him wrapped up. Usually, what I like to do is before I continue, I like to have a word of prayer with the person. If they're open to prayer, then I pray and I ask the Lord to bring the healing that is needed. Sometimes if the person is not open to prayer, and you do meet people like that, then we simply can pray within our heart for the person. But we'll pray for Joel. Since we're just demonstrating here, Father, we ask for your blessings and that you would bring great healing with this remedy in Jesus' name. Amen. So there are a series of steps that we want to go through. Now that Joel's feet are in the warm water and we have him wrapped up in the sheet and blanket, in just a few minutes now, his body will begin to warm up. And you remember that as we looked at in the intro video, this is the first video of the actual remedy, but we talked about in the intro video of how that heat causes the blood vessels to expand. Cold, which is called vasodilation. Cold will cause them to shrink, which is vasoconstriction. So I have Joel's feet in the hot water. So his blood vessels are doing what? That's right, they're widening, and that's called vasodilation. So that is causing circulation. So let's say he had some congestion, it's cold, flu, stuffy nose. So this is causing the congestion to be relieved in his chest, in his head, and causing it to be redistributed to his feet, causing a good circulation throughout the body. It's also warming his body up, bringing those white blood cells to the pathological condition. In this case, it's a cold or a flu. Now, after a few minutes, as I say, he's going to begin to heat up. He's not quite there yet. So after just a couple of minutes, his feet has acclimated now to the water. The water will cool down. So what we want to do is we want to have some nice, very hot water on hand. I like to get the hottest water I can because I'm going to be adding. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to peel this back a little bit, and I'm going to ask Joel to put his feet to one side. He can put them to the side just like that. And I'm going to very carefully, I'm going to pour a little bit more water. I pour just a little, and then I mix it with my hand. And notice that when I pour the water, pour the water, I want to place my hand in between his feet and the stream of water. See, what we want to do is we want to protect the person that we're working with. If we burn anyone, we want to burn ourselves, but we don't want to burn ourselves either. But there again, we want to make sure that we protect the person. So we pour a little water, and then we mix, and we ask, how is that? Is that good?
It's a little warmer.
It's a little warm?
It's a little warmer.
Okay, all right. Can you take a little more?
Yes.
Or is that good? Okay, so we pour a little, and then we mix it some more. Is that good?
Yes.
That's good. So, okay, we always want to remember that we want to communicate with the person that we're working with, see how they're doing, making sure that we are not burning them. So we just added some more water, and we're going to continue this process of adding water here and there throughout our administration of this remedy. Now, at the first sign of sweat beginning to form, this is when we want to begin to use our ice water basin and our washcloth here. So we have that ready, and he's beginning to show some signs of sweating now. So we want to have that ready, and we want to make sure that we keep the head nice and cool. We don't want the head to get hot. In some cases, some individuals will get so hot, sweat so much that we actually may have an extra one of these, and we will then have it to keep it on the head to keep them comfortable, all right? It depends on each individual. Some like it on their head, very cold. Some, they don't like it. So there again, you communicate with the individual, but we want to just keep them nice and cool. Now, also, I have over here for Mr. Joel that I need to just grab is a bottle of water. We have a bottle of water for Mr. Joel because it is very important that when we are doing these remedies that you keep the person hydrated. If the person is sweating, you want to make sure that we're drinking water. There actually can have, thank you, we actually can have a bad reaction to a remedy if a person is sweating profusely and they do not get the water. So we want to make sure that we have water for them to drink, all right? One more, okay. Very good. And what can be helpful sometimes too is if you have a straw. If not, a bottle is good, but if you have a straw, it just makes it even easier. All right, so now, he was sweating there. We make sure that we keep him cool. By now, the water probably has lowered just a little. He's probably acclimated to that even more, so I've got some more hot water, and it depends on how it comes out of your faucet, out of your pipe. Some people have very, very hot water, and that's good enough. Some people, maybe it's kind of warm, but not so hot. In that case, you might have to boil some water. And like I said, you want to get as hot as you can because the hotter the water, the least amount of water that you have to put in. We're aiming to not pour a whole lot of water, to constantly raise the temperature. So what we want to do is then pull this back. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have him move his feet over, and we're going to pour a little bit more water. And we're going to stir, pour a little bit more water, stir some more. How's that?
That's a little warmer again.
Okay, can you take a little more?
I can take a little more.
Okay, good. How's that?
It's hot.
Okay, good.
I'll get sweaty.
Okay, good. You'll sweat some more. All right, good. So always communicate with the person that you're working with. So, all right. So Mr. Joel is doing pretty good right now. So you go through the same rotations, keeping him nice and cool, making sure that he's drinking plenty of water. So the question may be, well, okay, how long should we keep the person in here? Well, it depends on what you're working with. If someone is just having, let's say, a headache, I remember one time I had a headache, and I don't usually get headaches, and I didn't necessarily wrap myself up like this. I simply wrapped a big towel around me. I sat on the edge of my bathtub, ran some nice warm water in. I sat on the bathtub for 15 minutes. Boom, I was good. Chest cold, flu, something like this. You may need to stay in here 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So it depends on what you're working with, all right? So after we've done this, we want to make sure that we have a bed nearby ready for him to rest. After each of these heating treatments, we want to make sure that we have a bed ready for the person to rest in. Now I want to, just a little tip regarding that. You want to make sure that you have a layer of plastic under the sheet in the bed, or placed on the bed where the person will be resting for at least 30 minutes. You want to have a sheet, a plastic and then a sheet, because the person will continue sweating in the bed. And that's part of the remedy, is when they rest. Rest is very important after one of these remedies. So you want to have the plastic there because there's sweat in the bed, and you want to make sure all of that sweat does not pour into your mattress. So after we finish this now, we want to then wind Mr. Joel down. Okay, keep him nice and cool here. Give him more water as he's needed. And so what we're going to do here is we also want to cool off his feet. Now we want to finish with cold. And there's usually a couple ways that we think about we can do that. As I pull this basin up, I usually do that, pull it up like that and lift his feet up. I can then take the cold water basin that I had, and I can pour some cold water over his feet. All right, that will help to recirculate the blood back through his system, all right, properly circulated, and also help to close his blood vessels, all right? We can do it that way, or after we lift it out of the hot water, we can then move that aside, and then we can place it in this one right here, and he can just simply place it in there for 10 to 15 seconds or so. And then after we do that, we can place his feet, make sure that you have a towel that you're going to dry the feet thoroughly, and then you would take them off to the bed where he is going to rest for at least 30 minutes. All right, so 30 minutes he can rest and then get up, take a shower, and well, you may say, well, how often should this be given? How often should this hot foot bath be administered? There again, that depends on what you're working with. If someone has a cold, flu, or let's say even like a virus you're working with, this heating remedy may be even effective in dealing with certain viruses. Like for instance, a flu is a virus. You may have to do this for several days, maybe once or twice a day for 3, 4, 5 days, depending on the person, and checking in, seeing how they're doing. So it's not necessarily your one time and you're done. It could be 2 times, or it could be 3 times or 4 times. You simply have to do it, see how the individual is doing, and then work according to their needs. So I hope that you will try this, that you will have someone to do this hot foot bath on you, and that you will find people to practice this on. Even if you've done this for many years, if you don't use it, you can lose it. So now is a time I challenge you to practice this hot foot bath. Thank you.